Why Japan? Why now? The first landing moment, so you get there and the first thing we did, of course, use the restroom, but then it was like, let's get some yen. I still have some Japanese ticket receipt in here. I don't know, this is written in Japanese. What was the first cultural difference that I've noticed? First interaction with the deer. You have to watch yourself. Because if they smell food in your pocket and you're not giving it to them, they might bump you with their nose and try to get it. My best quiet or reflective experience was probably at our hotel when I decided to meditate for a few minutes. Hi, I'm Alexandra Lloyd, a French Canadian who's called Birmingham, Alabama home since 2017. Welcome to From Where to Here, the podcast that celebrates the rich diversity of languages, cultures, and the stories that connect us all. Each month, I'll sit down with inspiring guests from different backgrounds to explore their cultures, languages, and tackle some fun in our Truth, Dare, or Debunk segment. Whether you're a language enthusiast, a culture lover, or just curious about the world, you're in the right place. Let's dive into your next favorite cultural adventure. Why Japan? Why now? Well, I will take you along with me, not for a guide of some sort, but really to welcome you into the reflections that I've had following the trip that we did, Sam and I, my husband, to Japan in November of 2025. And so this is more than just a trip for us. It was a time to visit family. It was a time to travel with family. It was also an opportunity to bring more culture into our travel, to really be disoriented. We were very curious about that country and we thought this is the time. This is the time to do it. And the way I'm going to be talking to you about it is I'm going to highlight some of the best, the worst, but also the first, the last, and even the weirdest. So all the moments that stuck. Are you ready? Let's dive in. So first things first, the plane. First time going to Japan, also on Japan Airlines. And the trip in itself was fine. It was really long. It's about 12 hours. We took it from Birmingham, Alabama, so BHM to Tokyo. There's two airlines and two destinations in Tokyo, but same airline. And depending on where you want to go the first time you get there or the time of the day that you arrive, you might decide one or the other. There's a small price difference potentially, and depending on what you want to do, but you're most likely going to be jet lagged when you first arrive. I think it would be nice to land in Tokyo, which for us, we already traveled right as we landed and went straight to a city down south that's called Hamamatsu, and this is where Sam's cousin live with her husband and their two boys. But more on that later. The first landing moment, so you get there and the first thing we did, of course, use the restroom, but then it was like, let's get some yen because we wanted to use the public transportation. It's just good to have money on you, and we didn't do that ahead of time. We thought, let's just do it once we get there. Then we shipped our luggage because we knew where we were staying, so we had to tell them, yeah, that was the first time we had to translate or use Google Translate. By the way, the most used app you're gonna have the whole trip because it really allows you to not only do the voice translation, the visual text translation, but also the picture translation, which is live picture of if you are at a grocery or you are at a restaurant and you want to scan the menu, you can use your camera within Google Translate, scan it over the menu or the ingredients label of a product, and it would translate live in the language that you want to translate it to. So we use that a lot, a lot. And after that, I have already prepared Sam, telling him I really wanted to go to Uniqlo and get a trench coat. Unfortunately, we couldn't find it. It was like out of stock already, end of the season. So we went straight to Hamamatsu. Best travel moment in transit was probably just my crunchy husband. I think that's where you say almond husband, like an almond person. In French, we say granola, which is translate for granola, but it means that your healthy. And so Sam always think of bringing healthy snacks from home. So he brought boiled eggs, we had nuts, we had cheese that he cut up, we had not pickles, but other things like that. So it was convenient right before getting on the plane. Now, worst part of the flight. We get on the plane, we have our seat number, and we realize at the moment where we stop and see, okay, this is our seats, that we were not seated together. Let me tell you, it made me very uneasy in the moment. And the stewardess, the agent, she heard us, right? There's people helping out, and the workers, the employees. And so she's like, oh, I'm sorry, that you're not sitting next to each other. And that's maybe that's what made me kind of more like accommodating to the situation, but I did not like it. So I actually had a metal seat. Also, we made sure he had an aisle seat, and I would have a metal seat, but I can at least relax on his shoulder. So that was not starting very well, but we're like, okay, we're just gonna go with it. And we sat down, get settled. Of course, I had my big backpack full of things to occupy me during the flight. It just caught me at surprise. So I don't know what it is, because on the return flight, it was the same situation, but we checked before boarding and we asked to be seated next to each other, and they were able to change us. So that was nice. But like for 8 hours, that plane, this was going from Chicago, so we had to go to Chicago first and then land in Tokyo. That was probably my least favorite moment, but we ended up also playing games together. So how you can watch movies together, we would do that. But also the fact that we were not seeing each other's screen, we would just like join each other's games, basically. So that made it a little better. And, we would talk, I would turn around and we will talk to each other at times and so on. Another thing to note is that they serve food 1 or 2 hours after boarding. So something to be aware of. And if you want, you can log into your screen and see the schedule for the meals. Now, if you're asleep, they might not, you might miss it. Like later on, like the second meal, because we had 2 meals served. But yeah, at least that gives you kind of an idea. If you're flying with someone, it's good, because typically one of the two is awake and can at least grab the food. And you can get some free beer, wine, like alcoholic beverages are also served as part of just the normal flight. They had Japanese beer that I got because I was sitting in between 2 Japanese men, and they got that beer, and I was like, oh, let me just get that. It must be good. And the other thing I did not like, that was like the worst of the flight, was the second meal. It was hot dogs, or it was maybe the first. Hot dogs. What? Hot dogs? No. Like, with mushy bread, or was it bread? At least it was the big sausage. It did not look good, and I didn't eat it, so yeah, that was so. Thankfully, I had the crunchy snacks, the snacks my crunchy husband had packed for us. So I was good there. Our worst jet lag moment. There was a couple. Obviously, day 2 and 3 at around 4-5 p.m. and again at 7-8 p.m. It was really hard. We were really tired, especially me. I could just close my eyes and fall asleep. Yeah, and to give you an idea, we landed around 2 p.m. Japan time. And the second day, that's when I started being tired. And that was around 4 or 5 p.m. And then later in the evening, I would sit on the couch or whatever. And I could not follow up with a conversation. My eyes were like, oh, I need to go sleep. After coming back home, I would say about 2 weeks later from our return, we were going to bed at 8-9 p.m. and we would get up very early, earlier than usual. Without an alarm, we would wake up at about 6 a.m. and sometimes we would wake up at 4, just randomly. Now I want to share something with you that is the cutest airplane moment. I'm adding one there. The cutest, okay? Because it's not the weirdest, it's just the cutest. The cutest moment is when the stewardess, now I'm using the word stewardess because Sam has been using it, but there's a more common word for it. I just now cannot think of it. But the stewardess gave me a cute envelope with a message, and I'm gonna read it with you. And this is after I gave them the watercolor, the Christmassy watercolor like art that I was doing on the plane. So they turned around and handed me that little mini envelope. So here. Okay, let's find out what the note said. See, I still have, that's funny, I still have some Japanese ticket receipt in here. So, I don't know, this is written in Japanese. If anyone knows what it says, oh, maybe I can use my phone and Google Translate it. So it has some character. Oh, it's my name. It says MS for Mrs. and then it says thank you with a little sticker of a stewardess. Because I can't think of the other name. That is so cute. Like, this brings me back to high school in my time when we would handwrite notes to each other and then like we would pass it around or ask other kids to pass it around to the person we wanted to talk. Mrs. Alexandra, thank you very much for flying with JAL today. JAL, it's the acronym for the Japan Airlines. How was your first JAL flight? Did you enjoy the flight? We hope it's a memorable flight for you. And thank you for the beautiful picture. I thought the picture you drew was wonderful during the flight. Thank you so much. Smiley face. Have a nice day in Japan. November 14, 2025. JL55. Cute. It was just sweet. And the reason why I'm also bringing this up is when we were at the Chicago airport, there was a lady who was traveling to Japan also for the first time. They basically won the trip, like so cool. Such a cool thing that they do within the company where they send their best employees abroad to Japan, to the headquarters in Japan. And she bought on Amazon those little ducks, and she had like a bag full of mini like glass or strong plastic ducks, and she gave me one, but the reason, because we were just chatting, she's like, oh, there's one for you. But the reason I'm sharing that is, and the reason why she bought those is to give out to people that she encountered during her trip, because in Japan there's a culture of gift giving, and she wanted to show up for the Japanese people in that way. And I thought that was the cutest thing. This is something I would do if I ever go back to Japan, would be to buy little gifts for, the people that give me their service, that helps out in one way or another, just as a way to show my appreciation to them. What was the first cultural difference that I've noticed? Well, that we've noticed, I should say. We were not even in Japan yet. Can you believe this? It was at the gate in Chicago. We were crunching on our nuts and suddenly the crew arrives, each with their carry-on. They had their little hats, their little outfit, and at some point they all lined up and looked at us, like in front of us, and bowed. And so they were standing and did a full bow, like down to the waist. And it literally, like, we're kind of, oh, what's going on? Like, it was just super shocking at first, but really nice. And we just kind of bowed back in return with our head because we were seated. And after that, I think everyone clapped and applauded, and then they started getting on the plane, and then we lined up to go. Oh, and even like they did 3-4 lines to get on the plane. I didn't understand the order of what was going on because it was half Japanese, half English, and they just, I think the purpose was to make us ready to get on the plane, so there's no one that's late and we're not losing kind of any time, like we're on time. I think that's what it was. Okay. Something else that was kind of a first cultural contrast, but once we were in Japan is the first morning we were in Japan, that was in Hamamatsu at the family house. And at 4 a.m., doing wide awake, Sam and I decided to go to a konbini store. A konbini store is one of those convenience store. So we walked in the neighborhood and we head there. It's open 24 hours and there was a smoothie machine. And we also discovered all kind of snacks. Like they have those small dried fish, and I did a smoothie in the machine, which is kind of like a self-serve smoothie machine. It's so cool. Like I wish we had those. It just seems very more technology forward with the smoothie machine and other things. Just the packaging. So they sell those little triangle rice with fish in it. There's 3 steps to it, little arrows, and it's like 1, and then you open the first corner, and then 2, you open the second corner, and like unfold slowly through that method of plastic folding, and it opens up to your rice, sushi rice, and fish to eat. And it's like, wow, why do they think of being so intentional in their design when it comes to product that every people consume? And it baffled me, and it's like, wow, we need more of that in America, I think. So I'm going to go through each city in order that we visited. The first one was Hamamatsu. So I'm going to share some highlights, some moments that stuck about Hamamatsu. The second one is Kyoto, and we stayed there for 3 days. Hamamatsu was, I think, 3 or 4. And then we went to Nara just for half a day, so just a morning. And then in the afternoon, we went to Osaka for just a little bit. We were there like a day and a half in Osaka. And we ended our trip in Tokyo, the big city of Tokyo. I'm going to share a few things about each city, about the first, the last, the best, the worst, and the weirdest. So let's keep going. Hamamatsu. First time seeing family in a long time. So of course that was for Sam's family. His cousin moved over 20 years ago. It wasn't like overly emotional. It's not like they talk to each other all the time, but it was very nice to see them reunited. And I've met them before. They came to America like years ago. His cousin picked us up. They all speak both English and Japanese, so there was no language barrier at all. One thing that's interesting for some, not as much for us because that's how we live even in America, is no shoe in the house. So before entering the house, you need to make sure to remove your shoes. You don't walk inside with your shoes that you wear outside. And that is pretty much like this, not only in people's homes, but even in public places like museums. Not everywhere, okay? If you go to Tokyo, such a big city, it's not like that. But if you go to, let's say, a local museum, it's very possible they have slippers available and you leave your shoes there, and then that's just the way it is. And I personally am a big fan of that. Going back to talking about his cousin, I did a video with her and her experience of coming to Japan as an American, so definitely you want to check that out. The first meal we had coming back from the airport was in local and homemade was fried chicken that Hiro, her husband, made. It was delicious. We don't eat fried chicken, but this was really, really good with some plain white rice. And for some reason, that rice was just delicious, very sticky, and I think with a little salad too. And after that, we took our showers and straight to bed. We were tired. Now, first time experiencing Japan through the family life, if you will. Funny enough, in the morning, people have miso soup, which I think it's such a good idea. Like I could totally get used to drinking broth in the morning, like something warm, especially in colder days. So we had rice, miso soup, and then on our end, we ended up buying eggs. So oftentimes in the morning, we would cook eggs. The kids were not used to that, and Sam was telling them all about the benefits of eating protein in the morning, and so they were excited to try eggs, and they felt a little more American. So that was cute. We got to try something called Furikake, and it's a Japanese dry seasoning mix. And you add that, you sprinkle that on your rice. It comes like in those small packets, and the kids love it. There's some kids version. You can have like an egg flavor or a chicken flavor, vegetable flavor. The kids love it. Another first food, like kind of outside, that we got to try that was really good and I loved going, was a local bakery there. That bakery just had all kinds of pastries and special breads, and yeah, it was fun. Last family time we had before heading to Kyoto was to visit the Hamamatsu castle. It was pretty cool because at the top of the castle there was a view of the city, and there's a building that looks like a harmonica, that instrument, because Hamamatsu is known to be the music city. Some best moments in Hamamatsu. I think one of them was when we were in the kitchen all cooking together, like I mentioned, the eggs, the miso soup, and just learning about different type of food and different ingredients. Like they use a lot of the root vegetables such as the lotus flower that they put in the miso soup. So that's pretty neat. I love that. Weirdest assumption. We went to the beach one day, and on our way out, we were driving. We saw the police was there right next in the parking, like in the parking area. There was a van, and it's interesting because from our perception, Sam and I were like, oh, well, I don't know, like something happened there, and we didn't like overthink that. Just they found something, or I don't know, really. But the assumption that was made, like with the thinking of someone living here locally, is, oh, that must have been a suicide. Like someone killed themselves in their car, and now the police is discovering it. They're doing something about it. So it's interesting. And why do you think is that? Well, another thing is in the metro station, when the bus arrive, or the metro, I guess I call it the metro, which is the train, right? The underground train arrives, some people will also like jump in there right before, and that caused a disruption in the service. But they will never say, oh, someone just jumped in front of the train. They're going to say that the system is interrupted momentarily for a couple of hours. So there's definitely a lot of loneliness in that country. Now, that's a big generalization I'm making here, but this is something we all know exists in all parts of the world. And I think it's just a good reminder that we need to be kind with each other. And also, yes, it's a terrible thing to be at that stage, but that's why I think showing up for others too, and just checking on our people and welcoming others is so important. But it's just very individualistic. And one way I can illustrate that maybe a little better for you is there are some restaurants, because they know people work intensively in Japan. Work is very the pride of the people. Family is declining. Families, I mean, just having kids and entertainment is really more focused on the work. And there are even restaurants with those separators where you can't even see the person next to you, and it's close to each other, but at the same time, I think it indirectly display how they think through every single thing to help you just be in your zone. And that's how like kind of people tend to prefer to stay in their zone, because they're just so focused on no social interactions and just like performance at work. And I think I've heard a story too of that woman, oh, was it their minister who requested her staff to get up at 4 or 5 a.m. to show up at the office, because she decided that was her schedule and she expected everyone around her to do the same. This is wild. And this is a very toxic culture, if you think about it. So that wraps up, I think, this topic, but that's something that we did have discussions around. Oh, and one thing also that's very weird is, and this is something I could not get used to the entire trip, it's that on the road, they drive on the left side, not on the right side. And they drive, also the car, it's the driver is on the right side, not on the left. So it's opposite to America. Not only on the road, in the cars, but also escalators. People stand on the right and they go fast on the left, which for us is the opposite. So confused the whole time. I don't think I can get used to that in only 2 weeks. Now, Kyoto, that was our favorite city. It's an old city. And now, let's start with the first impressions of Kyoto. Very walkable, full of history. The cobblestone streets, adorable. There's also nature. It's relaxing. There's like ponds right next to the shops in the Gion streets, the streets of Gion. Gion is like that little area where all the geishas are, which by the way, geishas, and I'm going to talk about that, but they're geikos and maikos. I know you listen to From Where to Here because you're not into surface level travel. You want the story, not just the sights. But let's be honest, breaking the language barrier can be intimidating. That's why I created the 5 phrases that unlock any culture. These are 5 simple phrases designed to pass small talk into real conversations from almost anywhere in the world. Don't just be a tourist, be a connector. You can grab it at fromwheretoherepod.com/5 phrases. That's your shortcut to unlocking real conversations. First shrine or temple moment. That was the very popular Fushimi Inari Taisha Shrine. It has the orange columns, very popular. And fun fact, the scriptures, like the Japanese characters, symbols that are on the columns. So on one side you see them all, and on the other side you just see them, the columns painted orange. There are sponsored businesses, so they pay a fee to have their names on the column. And then us tourists who don't read Japanese, we're like, oh, this looks so cool. And it's basically giving free advertisement. I thought that was interesting. The first, this feels ancient reaction that we've had is when we went to that tea ceremony. Was when we went to the tea ceremony, which actually was right the first activity when we went to put us in the vibe. The reason is it's very precise, a very precise ritual. I did not expect as much thought in the process of just drinking tea. In America, we do everything fast, especially me. I don't always take the time to enjoy and to just like slow down. And I think Japanese people are really good when it comes to the ancient rituals, not so much the work that's fast paced. Yes, that's what it felt in that moment. We honored the maker of the mug that we're drinking of. There's such traditions, and it's really clashing with our way of living. So that ritual of honoring the tea, the maker, and just the moment is very special and unique. Best visual moment. I have 2. So one was on top of that street in Gion. Basically, you're walking. It's one of the very popular streets, and you don't realize it, but at some point, you're walking up, and it's not a big hill, but you're walking up, and people are turned, and they're holding their phone, taking pictures and videos of the view because it's just beautiful. So that was a cool moment because I did not expect this, and it was just a nice view. So we just stopped, appreciate the moment, and took a picture, and then keep going. The second one is mochi making. We also did not expect that. We were just walking, strolling by the streets, and at some point we were like hearing ha-ya ya ya, ha-ya ya ya, ha-ya ya ya. And we're like, what's going on? And then there's a crowd of people around, and it's at night, it's already dark, and there's that guy that's pounding the mochi dough Or when he's not pounding, there's another person that flipped the dough. And that's the process. Flip the dough, pond. Flip the dough, pond. Flip the dough, pond. And then they make mochi balls. So we bought the most overpriced mochis there, but it was cool to see, and I took some videos and we're like, okay, this is such a cool thing. And the mochi were delicious too. We had the matcha tea or the green tea and chocolate, and that they put a little strawberry on top. That was a cool moment. My best quiet or reflective experience was probably at our hotel when I decided to meditate for a few minutes. So in our room, we had a place where they put one of those chairs that you just still sit on the ground, but you have a back where you can rest your back. And they had that little gold, like boing, I call it. And then you just doing and hit it on the bowl that goes with it. And yeah, and then just breathing and breathing in and breathing out, and just focusing on the moment. And that was probably, yeah, our most quiet, reflective, and just appreciation of where I was. Still in the best sense of cultural depth. It definitely was when we went to that Maiko's performance. It was one of my favorite activities. A geiko is a geisha, okay? A Maiko is a geisha that's in training. And so we saw and we met and we talked with and we played with, because yes, I played the game with her. So we saw one of her performances, actually 2 performances from her. We got to ask any questions we wanted to ask. And we also, for those who wanted, played a game with her. And it was just so neat. And then we visited a shrine and she was there too with the translator, and it was just very cool. So that was probably that was one of my favorite things. I can share with you the 2 questions that I asked. So I asked, what advice would you give to a young girl wanting to follow your path? And what do you wish more foreigners would understand about you? The first one got lost in translation, I think, from what I remember. And the second one, it was really good. So make sure to check that short video once I have it up, because I did voice record. Now, worst crowded moment. Definitely at the Orange Columns shrine that I was talking about. Get there early if you can. We would start our day every time around 7:30. We would have breakfast and then we would head out. We were at the Orange Column later in the day because I think we did something else before. There was just always a lot of traffic in terms of people walking. So just something to keep in mind. Worst weather or timing issue. Honestly, we had great weather the whole time. When we first arrived in Hamamatsu, it was pretty warm. We were wearing shorts. Well, I mean, I didn't bring shorts, but Sam was wearing shorts. And we were playing tennis outside, and it was just such nice weather. Like, we were in short sleeves, and it was just sunny, like very warm, in the 20-something degrees. Actually, close to 30 maybe. So in the 70s Fahrenheit. Very nice. A couple days after, it started cooling down a little bit. Worst expectation versus reality moment. I did not expect to love the toilets. Yep, here we are. This is the honest truth. I've used one of those techie toilet before where you have multiple buttons that do multiple things, heating your seats and flushing. Like, they're everywhere. Even if you go to a very basic restaurant, they still have, let me tell you, the functionalities that like are always there that I think is pretty cool is that you can put sound. How many times have you gone to a public restroom and there's 1 foot gap on each side around you that doesn't make it private? Well, with those, you just press the button and it does like, no, I can't even reproduce it. It's like ambient, bubbly, relaxing noise machine sound. Another bidet that, or at least the image, it's kind of like, think of it as a peach. You know where there's that line of the peach? Yeah, so I'm guessing it might cover more when it sprays. So you'll have to experience for yourself. And by the way, if you want to buy one of those toilet seats, you probably want to buy it in Japan because they're much more expensive in the US if you want like a good one, like there are some in Japan. So something to consider. Another worst expectation versus reality moment was the room was stunning and the service exceptional. And I am talking about the hotel we had in Kyoto. It's called Sowaka. And we were blown away by the exceptional service, the quality of the food there, and also our room. We were just blown away. It was very spacious. We had a little bath, like cocoon bath outside. One other top moment in Hamamatsu, let me just go back there for just a little tangent here. The spa at our hotel. That was one of the best things too. Where it's the onsen. It's what they call the onsen. So it's men, women though. So Sam and I were not together, but it was the same display. Say, hey, yeah, I went there, and it was like the same arrangement of the facility, how it was done. And it takes a little like get used to at first because you don't know, okay, yeah, you have to wash your body with a cloth because like basically you're naked, divided, like, or you have a little seat, tuk, 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 all lined up. And then you have a shower, tuk, 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 all lined up, but you stay seated on your plastic seat, naked, with your towel, or your washcloth, I mean. And yeah, you just rinse yourself, there's soap given to you, and then you like ta-ta-ta and like rub. And in front, there's mirrors in each station. And I learned that after that, because there's a bowl also in front of you, so the bowl you can like fill it up with water and then splash that on you, or you can use it however you want. But basically when you're done, you flip the bowl upside down and you either leave it on the counter or put it on your little bench. I did not know that. So then someone took my spot. So see, that's what I mean by the learning. But then I realized, okay, not everyone know that actually. So it's just that because you're like butt naked, I think you want to try to use the same spot because you do that. Like you will go in the sauna or in the baths and then you'll come back and rinse or wash. You know, you can spend all day there. But yeah, highly recommend the onsen. I'm going to call it weirdest local moment. Sam and I took a bus to go to that geisha experience. And we ended up running late because we went in the wrong direction. But when we finally were getting off the bus, no, the suka was on his phone. So he confidently showed his suka card on his phone as a way to pay. And the suka card, you have to understand, this is used in underground train, like the metro station. And also you can use it for vending machines, but not for the bus. And we didn't know that. And we didn't even know how much the bus was. So we're just like kind of scrambling. The bus you pay after. You don't pay when you get in, which is interesting. Trying to count the change because we had bills that were too big. So trying to make it work. Oh my gosh. You don't want to give more than 1,000 yen, but it's cost way less. And Sam told me that when I was like scrambling to find the change, the exact change that we ended up not having, so then we had to give a big bill. There was 2 women. When the bus driver said, oh no, we don't accept suka card, or you can't pay with that. There are 2 Japanese women in the back. They were like putting their hand in front of their mouth and just laughing at us and like and just like, oh, suka, like they're using suka and then something in Japanese. And Sam told me when we got off the bus, and I just thought that was cute and funny. And I'm like, well, it is what it is. We don't know what we don't know. And that was just a humbling experience. Now, weirdest peaceful moment in a busy place. It's more different than weird. And it is the standard Shinto shrine prayer ritual. And that movement is called Nire ni hakushu ishire. And it's basically you bow twice, so 2 deep bows. And deep bows mean you bow down your waist. Clap twice, hands together in front of your chest, and pray silently. Bow once more, and before you do that, typically you will toss a 5 yen coin. And why the 5 coin is because it's for luck. And if there is one bell, you do ring it to get what they call the kami's attention. So to remember it simply, it's just 2 bows, 2 claps, 1 bow ritual. 2 bows, 2 claps, 1 bow. And before that, you throw the coin. You might pray for whatever that shrine is good for. Sometimes it's like it might be good for love. Now, the city of Nara. Nara known for its deer population. Yes. So first time in Nara. Yep, mostly deer related. Half a day was sufficient for us. I think you could do a day. There's a shrine nearby. There are gardens. There are some little shops you can go to. We actually ended up talking with some young girls at a local coffee. We skipped the shrine because of a lack of time after seeing the deer, simply because we ended up going to a beautiful garden that I'm going to tell you more about. First interaction with the deer. Now, you have to watch yourself, because if they smell food in your pocket and you're not giving it to them, they might bump you with their nose and try to get it, even if you don't want to give it to them. Or if you have like too many at once, like you just need to watch yourself constantly. And some are more aggressive than others. But it was fun. Best photo or memory. We were, as I was saying, supposed to go to a shrine within walking distance from where the deer are. And by the way, the deer, like you realize you're there because suddenly, because the deer just roam freely. And so you start seeing a couple of deers and then people selling the crackers that you can buy to give them. And then there's more deer suddenly, more people, and it's just happening under your eyes. We saw an entrance for a garden. So we decided to buy tickets to get a visit. It was actually a private guide. I don't know. Sam bought it. He's really into history, so anything like to learn about the place a little deeper, he's all about that. So we did that. And it was great. It's called the Isuen, Isuen, Isuen Garden. And we stayed there for lunch. There was a little line because they just opened. They were not open in the morning. All that to say, why I was sharing about this is the best photo is a rock with tied rope on it to mark either you can enter or not. Enter typically a tea house. So in front of the entrance of a tea house, they will have those rocks. It's typically a smooth rock, like the size of my hand. And there's rope. Imagine like you take a piece of rope, you tie it around it, and then you do that second time, like perpendicular. So opposite side that you did. And basically this gets moved during a tea party because basically a tea ceremony can last all day. In that garden there were multiple tea houses, so it was pretty neat, and we can look through some of them, and that's where they have like the tatamis, and it's just a very social moment that they make very intentionally. Worst surprise or miscalculation. The taxi ride we took from Nara to Osaka, because it ended up being almost an hour due to traffic, and it wasn't a smart financial move, considering public transportation is so easy and accessible. But we were tired. I took a nap during the ride, and we didn't have to worry about anything. But looking back, we could have think about that a little better. Weirdest animal moment in Nara. Well, some deer won't move and they will lay down with their eyes closed. And I thought, oh, that's cute. Like they're just taking a nap. They're tired. They're just relaxing. On the flip side, Sam thinks that they're just overfed and just sick of eating all these crackers, which there's probably some truth to that. They're probably thirsty too, so there are most likely some truths into that. Now, Osaka. So we went through Hamamatsu, Nara, now Osaka, and then we're gonna have Tokyo. So Osaka, first impressions of Osaka versus Kyoto, and that's a good comparison because Osaka, it's faster energy, it's retro, is street food at every corner. It's really like flashy and colorful and very different ambience. Our first street food moment, we decided to go last minute to a popular restaurant that have, honestly, some of the, I think that was one of my favorite food. They had those balls, and I forgot what it's called, but the restaurant is in Kitaori, and it's on the corner of the street. I know, very helpful for you to find it. But we had those delicious fluffy balls. They were really hot, so that it made it hard to eat at first, but so delicious, like saucy. And I'm not a sauce person, but these fluffy balls, they were saucy and so good. Wow, so good. So I hope you get to find those if I cannot find the name of the restaurant for you. Best food moment. I was looking for all the Instagram spot from the influencers and creators, and I saw some of them that I decided not to go to, and one of them is the cheese coins. Like, it looks like artificial cheese. It's just that it stretches, a meter distance. A meter is what, 3 foot? So like it stretches super long. So already there, it's artificial cheese. It's not the real kind. And then in the coin, it's like a cookie of some sort. Like, it's just not the type of food that we eat. And like, it's cool for the gram, but it's not worth it to us. Instead, we actually, and Sam was really proud of that one. So we saw a place that had those egg tartelettes. So tartelettes aux œufs. And they were so delicious. It just melted in your mouth and they were still warm. It was just delicious. We had a couple of those. They were so good. Highly recommend. Worst crowd or chaos moment. Very crowded in general. Okay, if you go to Osaka, it is crowded. I'll recommend to have a specific list of places that you must go or that you really want to go to be more time efficient, considering there's more people to go around and it's just a lot to navigate in that. And that's not something that we did, but I think it would be worth doing. Weirdest sign, interaction, or night moment. For us is when we walked by, we saw a whole fish, probably a tuna, and it was picked clean down to the bones outside the restaurant, which seems very unusual. And like, I'm talking like not a small fish, I'm talking a big fish, like a big carcass of fish bones. And obviously you still see the head, the tail, and like no more flesh. It was just displayed right there as you walk by. I guess you can't get fresher than that. Best only in Tokyo experience. Well, something I really wanted to do by going in Tokyo was to go shopping for some Onitsuka tiger shoes. This is the place to buy shoes. If you don't know, now you know. Yes, you can get those customized. No, we didn't get those customized because no, we were not willing to wait a full day or 24 hours to get our custom shoes made. There's also a specific location that you need to go for the customization. We just went to the store in Ginza, Ginza, and it opened at 10. We didn't even plan around that schedule, but we arrived there. It was 9:45 or 9:50. So we wait for about 10 minutes before getting in because there was a line still, even if it's not the custom store. And it was crowded, so packed, my friend. It was like you have to ask for the sizes of all the shoes that you want in one setting because you're going to wait there for too long. It was like, think of it as Boxing Day at Sephora or Boxing Day at Best Buy. It was just a lot of people, and then people grabbing shoes, and then you can't keep the shoe with you because people need to be able to see them on the wall. And there were 3 levels. So we each got a pair of socks, each got a pair of, like, they had some cute socks I got from there, and a pair of shoes. I was planning on buying 2, but I could only get one among the styles that I liked that had my size, unfortunately. Worst sensory overload moment. Well, I'd say it was definitely culturally unexpected. A Japanese commercial that we saw multiple times that I finally was able to film, that we saw during multiple taxi rides. And it's basically, it jumps from a woman clearly in pain, like her belly, her stomach, it hurts, and she's like holding her stomach a little bit, to a lineup of very muscular men, like flexing and like going like this. And then once the bicep is up, there's close up on these googly eyes. Like, think of those like arts and crafts googly eyes like kids use for like arts and crafts. They're on his bicep and he's there like flexing. Strange, I know. And then you see the black pills in the woman's hand that she popped in, and suddenly she's smiling with her hair blowing, and she's like, ha. And is this classic Japanese commercial? Someone please tell me. But I could not wrap my head around this one. Who knows? But that was a moment. It sure was. Worst tired but still going moment. I had those, definitely. So around day 10 or 11, I started feeling sick. Yes, not fun, but I pushed it through because we had that same night our Omakase scheduled, and we struggled to get that because we waited last minute. And if I had a recommendation is, if you want to do certain things, again, make sure you book those certain things, certain experience ahead of time, because some book out. Omakase is one of them. And an omakase basically is a series of dishes prepared by a chef, and it's what you see is what you get, and that's the only menu of the night. But it's usually like 12 courses or something like that. A very small portion. And with alcohol, of course. Today's episode is brought to you by Birmingham Breadworks. They've been serving up amazing sourdough bread, European-style pastries, pizza, soup, sandwiches, all made from scratch since 2014. Everything they make is fresh. No preservatives, no additives. Just simple, clean ingredients. Their cafe is the perfect cozy spot with natural lighting, warm wooden tones, and art from local students and photographers. It's perfect to grab a coffee or something delicious to eat. Plus, they're big on sustainability as a gold level member of the EAT, Earth Aware team. Stop by Birmingham Breadworks and taste the difference of fresh local food. So that was a hard time for me, a little bit like kind of not feeling so great, but I kind of pushed it through. And also we didn't do any souvenir shopping at that point in the trip. So I definitely want to keep going. So I went to a convenience store and bought all the TikTok things that you can think of that say for when you're sick, like the jelly thing that you slurp. I got the soup. I got some cough drops as well because I was coughing. So yeah. Weirdest in Tokyo. Weirdest vending machine that I've had. Or I guess the weirdest vending machine store or like experience in general in Tokyo. Well, for me it was the vending machine. There was a vending machine selling freshly squeezed orange juice right there in the underground metro station. What? I wasn't craving an freshly squeezed orange juice at that time, so I didn't go for it. Maybe I should have, just to like have the thrill of getting a freshly squeezed orange juice in an underground metro station in the afternoon. Like, who would have thought this was a thing? I love it. I love Japan. Okay. Now that we've been through all the cities, I want to share with you about a few things regarding hotels and just tell you why this trip has change me for the best, but also things that I would do again the same and things that I would change probably or do differently. So regarding the hotels, first time going to a breakfast buffet, it was at the Hamamatsu Hotel, and it was literally one of the most delicious breakfasts that we've had. The eggs Benedict were definitely a keeper. We went again and again over to have those, and theirs had avocados on top too, and it was with smoked salmon. Oh my gosh, it was just delicious. They had also at the buffet those fresh lychees, like still in their shells, and that made me very happy. Of course, fresh juice. And another thing that's pretty cool is as soon as you walk in, and we didn't notice at first because obviously we're like not regulars there, one dispenser for warm hand towels. So a warm hand towel dispenser. So you just press the button and then it's electronic and it just drops the hand towel. And it's just pretty neat because then you can wash your hands without having to go to the restroom, and it's warm. Love it. Love it, love it. So yeah, the breakfast was literally out of this world, and it was in Hamamatsu, like I think that's a cool thing too, that we got to see like a more chill city because of visiting family. Like that's not a place that we would have gone otherwise. And if I had one suggestion is, yeah, go to Hamamatsu or just go to a city that you've never heard of or that is never recommended in any type of guides, just to get a different feel. And go to the grocery store and go experience a local bakery. Try something out of the beaten path. Is that how you say it? and go see for yourself, because you might surprise yourself, and you might be surprised. First reaction to space, layout, amenities, because yeah, that's quite a topic in Japan. And the reason is everything in Japan is typically much smaller than you're used to. So when it comes to room, if you're lucky, you're gonna have space under your bed for your suitcases, and that's great. Or maybe you stay at a more luxurious hotel and there's more space. Great. But generally speaking, you're gonna have to be creative and you're gonna have to close back your suitcase. That's just something to keep in mind, and make sure you are organized when it comes to packing, because that might help a lot, especially if you're, of course, like not traveling alone. I mean, you could be traveling alone, but still it's going to be a tight space. As far as amenities, they're usually given to you. Oftentimes you even get a pajama or a robe. So pajama like 2 pieces and it's unisex, so don't worry about that. Or a robe, and that's usually something that you can even wear like going to breakfast place or other places around within the hotel. It just looks like very decontracted. I like it. When we went to the onsen at the hotel, we wore those and we would just walk freely, and to go to the onsen we would wear that too. It's because it's much easier to then, I guess, get naked, but also just get around and stay comfortable. Go to your massage. Yeah, we had an amazing massage in Hamamatsu too. And one technique that Sam was very pleased with is they use their nails. And that's like just something you don't see as much in America when it comes to massage. She would just, but like in a nice way, like the nail behind your tibia, so the lower part of your leg, and she would just put pressure and use her nail, and it just felt really good. So yeah, that was cool. But other amenities that you get at the hotel, you will always be given a toothbrush and a toothpaste, a comb or a hairbrush, and of course in your room you'll find body wash and shampoo, conditioner, and usually a hair dryer. And then there might be some extras like powder to put in, little powder packs to add to your bath, or facial sheets to put on your face, things like that. When it comes to staying in Japan in some hotels, well, if I talk about the best hotel, best sleep, best everything, definitely Osaka, the hotel we stayed in Kyoto, and they provided the best service, thoughtful detail. It just was such an experience we did not expect. You're going there for an adventure. You're not going there to stay at the hotel. So every time we arrive from an activity or something back at the hotel, they will welcome us and then take our shoes, because you don't walk with your shoes in the hotel. They will give you slippers. They will take your shoes and put them behind their main desk, and they know which shoes goes to which guest. That's next level service to me. And not only that, when then you're ready to exit, they'll be like, oh, what do you have planned for the evening? You know, kind of doing the chit chat, but also it's to know when they can have the cleaning crew to go to your room to arrange your room while you're away. And they will give you a water if you want a water. Like there's water bottles there, but also it was getting cold at night, so they would give you those hand warmers. And that was just so neat, because obviously we didn't think of that. And so I have those in my pockets, and then they bring your shoes back, and it's like, okay, well, have a good evening. And you can have better, thoughtful, than that. And that's just one example, okay? Another example, let's go there. We made a reservation restaurants within the hotel for dinner, which breakfast is included, but dinner you have to make, like it's kind of out of pocket. And we one night had dinner there. It was amazing, of course. But not only that, they surprised us with the most thoughtful detail. And we didn't notice right away. And at some point, we were chatting, but Sam go and use the restroom, and then I'm kind of just looking around and just appreciating the layout, the flowers, and I'm like, oh, what is that little black box doing there? So I decide to open it, pull the sticks out. There were wooden chopsticks with my name engraved. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And of course I had another set of chopsticks to eat with. So this was just the gift. And when Sam finally come back, so I put the chopsticks back in the box, like nothing happened. When Sam come back, I was like, okay, I want you to open, you see that little box? And I filmed him because I wanted to see his reaction, because mine was just like, wow, I was just kind of blown away. And the server noticed my surprise, and he come and he said, is it the right name? Because if it's not, we can redo. And I was like, oh no, this is perfect. Like, thank you so much. This is great. So definitely full of little attentions, and very thankful for the staff that made our stay the most memorable. Now, worst hotel experience. Okay. I'll preface by saying that it ended up being also one of the best, to not say the best. Our hotel in Hamamatsu, we had to ask for a new room due to a bad smell. Like it was smelling of sewage a little bit. And I remember filming, and Sam was like, yuck, it smells bad, like just as I'm filming. And we had to go back downstairs and say, hey, sorry, but like our room stinks. Can we get another room? So they changed us to a different room, thankfully. And they even gave us access to what they call the executive club lounge on the top floor. We had some sake, some snacks, like plenty of alcohols, plenty of snacks, wearing, or was it their PJ or a robe? I think it was a robe there. So we're wearing a robe or slippers, and everyone does that, by the way. And then just chilling, like that made it fun. And that was just the worst room that we got at first, but turns out to be still a fun. And we had some of the best breakfast there too. So it was still a really, like, I would highly recommend that hotel. The weirdest hotel experience, still in Hamamatsu, because we stayed purposefully at what they call a Japanese style room with traditional floor mats. And they actually let us make our own bed. So we have those mats that we carried on the floor on the tatami, which is the bamboo made mats that are all over like the floor. And then we would put the sheets on top of it, but we put the sheets wrong at first. We had to just look at YouTube videos because it doesn't come with instructions. And then we finally figure out how to do that setup for when we're ready to go to bed. I would say, now that I've done it once, I don't want to do it again. And the only reason is I'm a side sleeper. And as a side sleeper, I need thickness in my mattress. And it was like maybe thick, what? 1, 2, 3, like 3 inches. And that's not thick enough for a side sleeper, or your hips will dip in the floor through the mat. And so that wasn't enjoyable. So I woke up with bruise. And yeah, that's not ideal, right? And so definitely uncomfortable, but also kind of memorable for the first time experience, if you know what I mean. Japan gave me a chance to slow down. It made me appreciate the little things. It made me honor and show respect and appreciate the respect that Japanese people have towards each other. It's the love for the little things. It really just gave me a deeper trust in its people, really an appreciation for that culture, and noticing the small moments and slowing down. So it really made me do that. At the tea ceremony, we were really encouraged to slow down and appreciate not only the drink, which is already by itself something difficult to do, because oftentimes when we drink our coffee, let's say, or our tea, it's on the go, right? It's like, oh, there's drive-thrus. They don't have drive-thrus. At least I haven't really seen any. They sit down. They just appreciate being there, drinking, but there's also appreciating the visual of the cup. When I look at this or think of that notion of slowing down, Japanese people in their history have learned to do that. And this is a beauty that I can really, really appreciate. Felt pretty perfect into our eyes, both Sam and I. We would pretty much do it the same way again. It was that good. I'd look for more unique experiences, like our geisha experience was just fantastic. I would do even more of those. Maybe something creative where we learn something, we're in the doing, the making of, and just to learn even more about the culture and what made up that culture, that Japanese culture, so rich and unique. And I would totally encourage you to do the same. One thing I'm very happy we did is a list of all of our must do and like to do. So that allows us to be in line with what are the must do on this trip that we want to do, whether it's just me, whether it's just Sam, or us together, and to not miss out on those other aspects of the trip that we would like to include, but it's okay if we don't. And we're both okay with that. So it allows us to gain alignment in that area. Starting early our days, again, is definitely something that made us appreciate the time that we were given to make the best out of it. And so getting up at 7:30, or actually having breakfast, yeah. So we'll get up sometimes 6:30, but it just made our day full, and start early where it wasn't as packed, especially more touristy activities. So it just turned out to be the best. Starting our day early just made the most sense, especially in touristy cities like Tokyo, and also attending touristy attractions. So make sure you start with those, or have at least one plan in the morning. If I had one advice to give, is that, and that's something that I would move forward with doing if we ever go back to Japan. Which at first I thought, I just want to go there once and then I'm done. But now that I've been, I'm thinking I might be back one day. What would I do differently if I ever go back to Japan? Well, I think Osaka, we didn't spend enough time there. I think there's just so much more to discover when it comes to the nightlife. And I would also plan some specific places to go in Osaka because it's very crowded, and I feel like we were just kind of going wherever the crowd would bring us in a way. And there are things that I felt like maybe I missed out, or like that we missed out, that I wanted to do. but it also wasn't as defined. So I didn't know where to go when, it gets tiring. When we got to Tokyo, I was doing 25,000 steps a day. So it's a lot of steps. On day 2, I started getting blisters, but then we didn't walk as much, so that was fine. I think it was in Tokyo, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because I think that's when we walked the most. And if you do that, you definitely want good shoes, which I had, but still I got blisters. There was also, or there is, a city with some of the most oldest people in the world living, and it's in a city in Japan called Okinawa. I really wanted to go there because I have once watched a Netflix documentary and I was just amazed. I actually ended up doing a Toastmasters presentation about it because it was just really neat to learn about how large the population of individuals that are 100 plus years old that live so happily in this city. And it's based on a really good diet. They are very focused on connection and community, and they have a slow and grateful kind of way of living, if you will, with daily physical activity. And I was just and I still am very curious to hear more about and just go there to experience it. And I think Okinawa is known for other things too, but that sense of purpose and good living, and I'd like to go visit and experience it for myself. And so that's definitely a place I would go if I ever go back to Japan, or that I would have maybe done differently. But at the same time, I'm grateful for where we've been and all the things we have been able to experience together, Sam and I. I think that's where you have to say yes to certain things and say no to others. And that was one of the things that I was willing to say no, because it was a little farther from our initial itinerary with some key places that we knew we were going. And that's where, because of the time that you have to make decisions. And then if you end up going somewhere that's much farther, you won't be able to spend as much time in some of the cities that you're planning to visit. And at that time, it just made the most sense to not go. But I will go next time. I would dedicate a full-time shopping. I think we were very scrambling at the very last minute for souvenirs at the end, and I was sick, so it didn't make the experience much fun. And we did, while we were in Kyoto, we did buy some seasoning and things that we wanted more for ourselves at home, but just a handful of things. And if I would do it again, I think whenever I see something, I would just buy it. And especially tea, matcha tea is good. You can buy it in Kyoto, but I wait until last minute in Tokyo to buy it. Make sure it was matcha grade. So there's some green tea they're going to sell, like green tea matcha in Tokyo. It's not bad, but it's just for baking or cooking. You don't want to drink it as matcha tea. That's like intended to be drink and high quality. So you want to make sure you use your Google Translate app for the picture, and also ask ChatGPT if you need to ensure it's high quality. And it expires. So once you buy it, make sure if you buy some to your family and friends, make sure you tell them that they need to drink it, not just keep it. You always have that one person that's like, oh, I want to keep it forever. Well, you can't. You can keep the box after you're done drinking the tea. And the next time I travel to Japan, I'd also leverage Google Maps a little more efficiently. I think at first we were, making calls for ourselves, especially me. When I get impatient, I'll be like, okay, let's just go there. And then we ended up in the wrong direction because of that, but we were able to get back on track eventually. So I think leveraging Google Maps to explore places and to just know what's the next bus to take, or next metro, next train, would be helpful. And we knew that was a top app. We just, I don't think, used it in a way that made it easy for us. And that makes me think about the ticketing system. Whenever you go to an underground train, make sure you keep your ticket for exit. And if your path has changed from what you initially paid, it's going to ask you to pay the balance. If you stick to the plan of your final destination, then you should be fine, but you do need a ticket. Otherwise, you're going to have to talk to the people at the gate, like at the place where not they sell tickets, but they like check people when they come in and come out, and you're going to have to explain yourself. I lost one. I had to explain myself. They let me go, but just something to know. Finally, why this trip mattered so much to us. I think first of all, it was to see family. Family that have been living in Japan for 20 plus something years, and it felt like the perfect opportunity. Family also that got to travel with us, and also being their first time in Japan. And we went to places like Team Lab in Tokyo. That was a cool place to go to, and highly recommend of you doing it. There's different experiences depending on when you go. By the way, they have those all over the world. So if you don't go in Japan, you can go to another city. It's typically most metropolitan big cities in the world. Secondly, cultural travel. We wanted a place where we would feel disoriented, out of our comfort zone, and just go a little farther than we've been before. And that was just one of the top 3 destinations that we've identified wanting to go. And so it seems like the perfect time to do it. And thirdly, believe it or not, it was Sam and I's first experience internationally traveling together outside of the US, Canada, and the Cayman Islands where we met initially. And believe it or not, even 8 years later, it was a test in a way that turns out to be good. And we just wanted to do it again now. So please tell me, what destination do you recommend for us to go next and why? I'd love to hear. I'd love to get your take on this. We love traveling, and we're always planning different trips, and that's just one of our biggest joys. So on this, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you got some takeaways and learn some things to better plan your trip to Japan, whether it's in the fall, the spring, the summer, the winter. I know you will have a blast. The people there are genuinely some of the most respectful and likable individuals I've ever met. Weather for us was perfect in fall. The beauties of nature just doing its thing was fabulous, and we could not have asked for a better trip. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And on this note, keep exploring. Thank you for tuning in to From Where to Here. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who loves discovering new cultures. Follow us on Instagram at From Where to Here Pod for exclusive updates, behind the scenes moments, and a peek at upcoming guests. Until next time, keep learning, keep connecting, and keep celebrating the beauty of languages and cultures. À bientôt!